Hi everyone, my name is Gabby and welcome to the Modest Society podcast. I'm so excited to get in today's episode, but first I wanted to thank those of you who are watching this podcast on YouTube and those of you who are listening to this podcast on Spotify. I really appreciate you clicking on this episode, and I hope that you can connect with today's episode and have some takeaways. If you do, please send this to someone you know and who you think would benefit from this podcast. I can't wait to see how this community grows and who it reaches. Okay, so I don't know about you, but life has been lifing lately. Kinda since the beginning of this year, 2025 has not really been it, but like the fires and the new administration and thousands of federal workers losing their jobs, the crazy job market, like what has been going on? And on top of all of that, the daily stuff that people are affected by, like toxic relationships, friendship breakups, crisis in the family, some of you know getting a heartbreaking diagnosis, getting laid off from your job, and more. If you or someone that you know is going through any of that, I just wanted to let you know that I'm praying for you, because so many of us have been there in life where it can just be really hard. And you could be in a situation that you didn't ask for, choose to be in, or wish on anyone. There are seasons of life when you just want to quit, hide, or escape, but I just want to let you know that there's joy there and you're not alone in whatever situation you're in. It might sound corny, super spiritual, and whatever, but Jesus is with you. And you might not see it now because you're in the midst of a stormy season, but he is there with you. And I truly hope that this episode is a source of encouragement for you, and I hope that it helps you in some way. So whether that's changing your mindset on open doors versus closed doors and thinking about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, or just learning about how there's ways to support someone who you love who's going through a really hard time. First, I want to talk to you guys about how God works all things together. So when thinking about this topic, I thought about thunderstorms. You might be like, what? Like, that is so random. Why are you thinking about thunderstorms? But I was really thinking about the positives and negatives, and when there's like a certain Bible verse I'm thinking of, it says like how all things work together. It's Romans 8:28, and when you think of all things, that is like the positive and the negative, and how God just puts it all together and allows it to work correctly, like in your story, so that you can have all the things that you need to become the person that you're meant to be. So on one hand, thunderstorms can be scary, but on the other hand, they really benefit the earth, and they provide essential resources like fresh water, fixing nitrogen for plant growth, cleaning the atmosphere, and helping maintain the Earth's electrical balance. And then I also thought about Marvel movies. I grew up watching them, so and how important a character's origin story is for them to become a hero. For example, at the beginning of Captain America's story, he faced a lot of tragedy and hardship, but from that hardship, he became the hero that was able to lead the Avengers and have victory over a long list of people. Right now, I want you to think about a past situation that you would list as a character developing moment. What is a positive characteristic that came out of that? So for me, a character developing moment was definitely when I walked back into my parents' house after going to college, and it was about like 2.5 months, and having to make the decision that, okay, this wasn't right for me, and moving back home. I at first really thought that I was a failure and that there were just so many things that I did, and at the time I just really questioned, like, God, why did you even have me go through this? It was for such a short amount of time, and there was just a lot that I wish that I hadn't like seen, gone through, whatever. But now that I'm out of it and able to reflect, I think that a characteristic that was really positive was me being able to advocate for myself better. During that time, I faced like a lot of different things, and me being able to speak up and say what I needed, and just like advocating for myself, I think that was a big positive. And having more confidence in my voice. In high school, I had a lot of insecurities around my voice and the way that I talked, and from going through that different stuff during that time, I had a lot more confidence walking back into my house than I did when I had left it. It was like 2 months prior. And there are a few songs that I think have really helped me, like through different moments where I really needed encouragement, and I'll have those listed for you guys in the description. So next, I want to talk to you about open doors versus closed doors. So I recently watched this movie, See You Soon, and one of the characters was encouraging the other by saying, I believe that when it comes to closed doors, another one opens, but we cannot keep looking back at the closed one. And I don't know about you. Are you like a person who pauses in movies? I'm a person who pauses movies. It might be annoying. But I really pause movies when characters like say different things, or if they do something that really has me like think, you know what I mean? And this quote had me think, like, wow, how many times are there times where like a moment in your life closes and another one opens, but we keep wanting to like hold on to and like look back at those past things instead of like moving forward. Like, I think there's a quote somewhere like about looking in the rear view mirror when you're supposed to be looking straight ahead. I don't remember the quote right now, but I don't know, just like thinking about driving, how safe would that really be, that you're supposed to be like going forward, but if you're looking in your rear view mirror the whole time? So often we have a mindset that we failed or lost something, and I want you guys to think about changing that perspective. So let's go with the example of not getting into your dream college, because I know that right now, it being like springtime, a lot of students are getting their acceptance and like rejection letters and just seeing those results. And I know that can be really hard to deal with because I went through it 4 years ago. And that's like crazy for me to say out loud. But anyways, instead of having that mindset, which is a fixed mindset, and most likely blaming yourself and thinking that you weren't enough and that you did something wrong or that you could have, would have, should have done whatever, I want you to change your mindset and your response to this information and lean more toward a growth mindset. So before I get into the 2 steps of like thinking one way and then another, I want to explain first what a fixed versus a growth mindset mean for those of you who aren't familiar with those terms. So Cote from Harvard Business School states, growth mindset views intelligence, abilities, and talents as learnable and capable of improvement through effort. On the other hand, someone with a fixed mindset views those same traits as inherently stable and unchangeable over time. Others have a fixed mindset, which means that they believe that their abilities are innate and cannot be changed much, if at all. So growing up, I definitely had a fixed mindset that, okay, this is just the way that I am. I tried, that's it. And a lot of people in like older generations still have this mindset. But the growth mindset looks at things differently and says, okay, I'm not capable now, but maybe I can be in the future. Maybe if I like do these different things, then I can like achieve this or have this new ability. It's kind of like learning a hobby or something. You're not good at it at first, but with some effort and some practice and maybe some help from others, you can have this new ability and move on to the next one. You know what I mean? So there are 2 steps to changing from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So first, I want you to acknowledge what's happening and say, okay, this is not what I have wanted and definitely was not my first choice, and it was my dream school to go to, you can fill in the blank. So the second part is, let's be curious. So now that I know I'm not going to whatever school, what are my other options? I could take a gap year and save up for tuition. I could go to a community college and then transfer to my dream school. I could go to one of my other top 5 choices, or do I have to go to college at all for the career that I want? I feel like so many different times we have this mindset of, oh, I need this to happen. Like it's this or nothing at all. You know what I mean? But there are other options. You have so many different choices. It's your life. And so I just want you to remember that you might not have whatever right now, but it can happen in the future. Just maybe not the way that you wanted it to. Then I want to talk to you guys about why it's important to trust that God is with you during the stormy seasons of life. So many times when we're in pain, feel depressed or anxious, we isolate ourselves and do not let others know what we're going through. But you are not alone in whatever you're going through, and Jesus is in the fire with you, and he knows the end result. As someone who used to isolate myself and not trust people enough to open up, I encourage you to have courage and tell someone you trust about what you're going through. You may be surprised about what they share and that they're going through or have gone through something similar. So some Bible verses that I found for encouragement are Daniel 3:1-27, which is the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. And the story basically talks about how there was a king who wanted everyone to bow down to him. These three men were like, no, we only bow down to God. And so he ordered that they be put in a fiery furnace for them to be burned alive. And when the guards looked through the furnace, they saw that there was a fourth man in the furnace with them. It was Jesus. And when the soldiers got close enough in the furnace, then they got burned. And yet these three men were able to walk out of the fire unharmed, unscathed, not even a piece of dust, fire, whatever on them. And I think it's a really encouraging story because it reminds us that God is with us in it. And from the outside, we can look like we're going to get harmed or be affected or anything, but in some cases we're not, because we know that we're with God and that he's in it with us. Because a lot of us don't look like what we've gone through, you know what I mean? In Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Psalm 56:8 says, record my misery, list my tears on your scroll, are they not in your record? Deuteronomy 31:6 says, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. Psalms 46:1 says, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Romans 8:38-39 says, for I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. And Hebrews 4:15-16 tells us that Jesus can empathize with our pain and weakness. It says, for we do not have the high priest who is unable to empathize with our weakness, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Lastly, I want us to go over some ways to support someone who's going through a stormy season of life. So the first one is listen, do not try to fix or solve them. In my experience, I don't always want someone to solve a problem for me. I just want them to be there. You know what I mean? Just someone to listen and give you a hug. And I found that if you try to fix or solve something for someone, you can carry that weight, a weight that's not your own, and feel that it's your purpose or something to fix that, but it's not. Someone just wants to tell you something for you to be in it with them so that they're not alone. And the second one is to call them and let them know that they can lean on you for support. Again, just having someone be there is such a peaceful feeling, just knowing that you're not dealing with something by yourself and knowing that you have a listening ear and someone in your corner. I think that's just amazing. Because if you feel like you're just struggling with something by yourself, the isolating, crippling feeling of, oh, there's no one here with me, but then knowing that there is someone with you, it's just very encouraging. The third one is do a self-care activity together. Sometimes it's just good to have a distraction. You know what I mean? Like doing a painting class or Pilates or going bowling or roller skating. Just some sort of activity to just temporarily distract your brain from thinking about that diagnosis or that breakup or getting rejected from whatever. I think it can be really helpful. For example, I went through a friendship breakup and I cried about it, and my sister was there and she was like, okay, let's do this. So we ended up like doing an activity together, and it temporarily got my brain off of it so that I wasn't thinking about like, oh, I don't have this person like in my life anymore. And friendship breakups can just be hard. But yeah, I definitely recommend just doing an activity, especially when working with your hands, because I can find that if you watch TV, like it's less distracting than like if you're tangibly like doing something. The fourth one is to pray for them. Again, can sound corny, super spiritual, but prayer is powerful, and welcoming Jesus into this situation is uber helpful. Then the fifth and final one is to offer practical help. For example, someone in my family just gave birth, and I feel like something practical to help them was prepping food for them because they weren't getting much sleep. And when you don't get much sleep, then like how can you do things like for yourself when you don't have like time and stuff? So making them food or coming over to like babysit the baby and allowing like the parents to have like a date night or just get sleep. I feel like that's a really good way to like help someone. And then I'm going to end off with a summary of today's episode. So first we talked about how God works all things together and how sometimes we experience hard things to become who God created us to be. So God will allow for hard situations in your life to build character traits in you that will benefit you later or to even like help someone else. The next thing that we talked about was open versus closed doors. And so often we look at things with a fixed mindset that we didn't get what we wanted, and it might not look like how we have wanted to, but with a growth mindset and by changing your perspective, you can think about how God has a better option in mind for you. Then we talked about why it's important to trust that God is with you during the stormy seasons of life, because instead of isolating ourselves, we should have the courage to share what you're going through and remember that Jesus is always with you and that he empathizes with our pain. And then the last thing we talked about was the 5 ways to support someone going through a hard time, which are to listen, don't try to fix or solve them, call them and let them know that they can lean on you for support, do a self-care activity together, pray for them, and offer practical help. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that it brought you some encouragement in whatever season you're in or whatever season that you know someone else is in, or like what they're going through. And I'm so grateful that you decided to spend your time with me and listen to the full episode. If you go to the episode description, you'll find some resources that I've left for you, and those like include the like songs that I mentioned I was gonna have in the description and some Bible verses. And if you enjoy this episode, please share the link with someone you know and follow the podcast on Instagram at the Modest Society Podcast. I hope that you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye.